What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Sunday virus update for Sunday, October 6th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where I do the daily virus update on all things COVID and any other virus that could be a health threat to you. Let's face it, there's a lot of different viruses out there. You need to know what's going on with each and every one of these viruses. That's what I do on this channel each and every day. Some days we do special themed type videos. Today would be one of those days, I would say, because we're going to talk about COVID in wastewater, and more importantly, viruses in wastewater overall, because we have the tools, we have the power to see what's going on with these viruses in wastewater levels in many communities throughout the United States. We can't view all communities, but we can view many communities, and we can take a look at several different things, such as COVID, flu, RSV. We can take a look at hepatitis. We can take a look at Mpox, norovirus, HMPV, and see what's going on in your area. We're also going to talk about a few news stories today. We're going to take a look at emergency department visits diagnosed with COVID, which I do have some good news to report on there. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe down below, give this video a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. Alright, starting off today with something I really haven't talked much about lately. I'm going to briefly talk about it here for a moment, and that is Marburg. Marburg is a virus that has been kind of up and coming in the news lately. There's been a lot of talk about it. Rwanda reports 5 new Marburg cases, taking the total to 46, and there was a possible scare recently in Germany of Marburg as well. And here are the symptoms of Marburg. BNO News tweeted this out. Symptoms are high fever, severe headaches, muscle ache, vomiting, and diarrhea. That's what's being listed here. And you want to avoid close contact with symptomatic people. And of course, just enhance your hygiene protocols like you normally would. Alrighty, moving on here now to this. Yesterday, we talked about various different long-term symptoms that kids could be dealing with when it comes to COVID. And yeah, it's something that is continuing to be a problem, and this headline says, for kids with long COVID, back to school often means not returning at all. And yeah, it does happen for some kids. And it also mentions here, some kids are out of school for sometimes upwards of 6 months because their symptoms are just not improving, they're not feeling well, and in many cases, that is leading to something that is going on, and that is homeschooling. Now, there's a story here about homeschooling. They don't really talk about long COVID in here. They more so talk about how, since the COVID pandemic became a thing, homeschooling, well, it increased. And believe it or not, in a new report in 2023 to 2024, homeschooling rates continued to go upward. It continued to become a thing. And I think one of the underreported things with this is the fact that, there's a lot of kids that are sick. They had COVID and they have persistent symptoms. And in the early days of the pandemic, we were all led to believe kids cannot get COVID bad. And we are finding out that is just simply not true. Kids can get COVID bad. Kids can go on to have issues with long COVID, and as we saw yesterday, the list of symptoms: fatigue, headaches, persistent fevers, shortness of breath, coughing, trouble sleeping at night. All these problems can lead to decreased learning capabilities, meaning they're not going to be able to get the full education because their body is just not up to it, and they can't really focus properly. And prior to COVID, ADD was a big thing. I had ADD as a kid, and it definitely was a problem for me. Think of long COVID as being something much worse, where you're constantly getting tired, where you're constantly coughing, sneezing, all these various different problems. It's really hard for a kid to learn properly when they're dealing with these problems, and there is one big way we can help prevent this. Proper ventilation in classrooms, proper masking, and doing the right thing. If your child is sick, isolate them away from the other kids. Now, I understand there are circumstances where the parents cannot get off of work, and I get it. It is a real struggle. But if you have the ability to keep your child home when your child is sick to prevent his classmates and teachers from becoming sick, please do so. All right, taking a look at the website. There is a few things that I want to point out to you here. There's been an ongoing glitch with my website, datareport.info. And that glitch was there would be ads that take over the screen. We've had it happen during some of our videos. Well, that was something that Google automatically put in place about, I don't know, a month to a month and a half ago. I finally got around to fixing that yesterday. Hopefully that will not happen anymore. The ads you see at the top, the ads you see on the right and on the bottom, they're supposed to be there. It helps the pay to keep the website running, but really it doesn't do much of anything. It just adds up. It doesn't add up to much. But the point is, those ads that were taking over the screen were not supposed to be there. I fixed it. If you encounter those ads, let me know in a comment down below. There's an email address here on my channel, datareportlive@gmail.com. Email me or direct message me over on X if that still is an issue. All right, something else that I want to point out to you, and I did not point this out in the previous videos, but I did this just the other day on October 4th. I finally compiled a list of sites and pages used in my videos. It's not 100% complete. I've recognized that there's a few things I've missed. We've shown Chicago a few times. We've shown Houston a few times. That did not get on there. I'll get around to adding that as well. But you can see here, just about almost all the daily stuff that you see on here in terms of data, dashboards, wastewater, air quality, that type stuff is listed here. Obviously, all the news websites I use is not listed here because that changes daily. But if you want to, go look at the data and all the stuff for yourself, by all means, here's a list of the links of all those different dashboards. And I must tell you, this is a pretty long list. There's a lot of stuff that we use throughout the week-to-week time frame. So, like, for example, you see the UK is listed here. We show you that every Thursday. And I did include, or try to the best I could, include the times that these different links and websites update. All right, speaking of the UK this week, let's just go back and recap that. The United Kingdom had 2,797 cases this past week. That was up by 496. They are in another wave. I can't say for certain if it's the XEC variant doing this, but they are in another wave right now. Hospitalization data seems to be behind because deaths are already rising for this wave. 134, that was up by 45. And now taking a look at what's going on with today's pollen levels, and I do need to refresh this. And we see that, okay, it's coming up 46%. I don't know if that's actually accurate because that's the same number as yesterday. Maybe it's just exactly the same. How about that? It is possible. 46% of the country is in low to medium status. The biggest orange areas are in the south. Taking a look at what is going on with air qualities for today, that was pollen levels. This is air qualities. And we still do have some problematic areas in the mountains of the west coast. We see a lot of reds there, but the east is not great either. You go south of Pennsylvania, in the southeast, we're seeing a lot of yellow. And then you go into the Great Lakes, there's some oranges showing up. Ohio's in the yellow, but a lot of wildfire issues in the west. And usually, I would be tweeting about that on my X account. I should be on my Climate Data Report X account. But something even more important is taking the center stage, and I have to show that to you. Refreshing this. Now it's up to date. This is Tropical Storm Milton, which is now up to 65-mile-per-hour winds. And Tropical Storm Milton will become Hurricane Milton tonight. And by tomorrow, yes, already by tomorrow, it is going to become a major hurricane. And impacts are going to be significant for Florida's west coast. It doesn't matter whether it directly hits Tampa Bay or goes a little south or a little to the north. All of the western Florida coast is going to feel some kind of an impact of some sort. And whether or not this directly hits Tampa Bay remains to be seen. The tropical models shifted south a little bit. Some of the regular models came north a little bit and go right over. I just saw the ensembles of the GFS. that directly hits Tampa Bay. So we're going to need another day to figure that out. If you live in that area, please start preparing now for a major hurricane. This storm is already rapidly intensifying. It already looks really impressive on infrared satellite today. So, yeah, I'm concerned about this. Milton is going to spell trouble. And if you notice here, there is a cone of uncertainty. Once it goes into the Atlantic, if it rode that northern path, well, Georgia and South Carolina coast would have some impacts as well. We're going to be watching this. I'm going to be watching this a lot over the next few days. Climate data report. Let me refresh this. That is the best place for you to stay informed, or at least from me. But also, let's go back here for a second. The National Hurricane Center is also very important. Follow their forecast, listen to your local officials, and take them seriously. If you get a mandatory evacuation order and you live in the area of a mandatory evacuation order on the Florida coast, please take that seriously and do the evacuation as they would like you to do. All right, let's see if we have anything from Philadelphia today. I've been waiting for this for a while. No, Philadelphia EMS calls have not updated yet today. Maybe they will later. I'll retweet them when they do. And of course, I'll share that tomorrow. Taking a look at Montgomery County, Pennsylvania right now, we can see here, not terribly busy right now. A couple respiratory emergency calls, but it's not a really busy Sunday, except for Chester County, Pennsylvania, which has been pretty persistent for the last couple hours with a lot of different calls here. We see respiratory difficulty, unresponsive person, exposure to heat and cold, abdominal pain, stroke. Yes, there are some calls to be had there. Walgreens this past week did see that the positivity rate did continue to drop all across the United States. 21.8%, I believe, was the positivity rate for this week. There it is. 21.8%. That was down by 3.5%. We will hopefully have another update on this again tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at those emergency department visits real quickly. And we're just going to go through this quick because, for the most part, everywhere around the United States is dropping. The national level is dropping. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., yes, Washington, D.C., Florida, Georgia, all dropping. Although Georgia, the drop slowed off a little bit. Not terribly concerned. Guam, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, all dropping. Montana, yes, you are finally dropping now after a long-term period of bouncing up and a little bit higher. You're finally dropping. Nebraska and Nevada are dropping. New Hampshire is dropping as well, but the New England states will have to pay attention. It's leaf peeping time up there. That could stall things a little bit. New Jersey continues to drop. New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio. Look at that. Ohio has made huge progress. Remember, Ohio had just a horrible COVID wave this summer. Oregon is dropping. Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah. Even Vermont is now dropping. Yes, Vermont, which was stubborn. Virginia, and even the stubborn state of Washington. And I'm not saying you guys are stubborn, but your COVID cases were. They just would not drop. And they're still elevated, but your emergency department visits for people diagnosed with COVID is finally dropping. West Virginia is dropping, Wisconsin, and, well, Wyoming is continuing to not report. All right, let's take a look at COVID and wastewater. The national wastewater viral activity level for COVID-19, it's still high, but it is starting to drop at this time. And we're going to take a look at this map here. We'll go region by region, then we'll take a look at Wastewater Scan, and that's where we'll end you today, is on Wastewater Scan. We do see here there's still a lot of red and orange sites, meaning there's still a lot of areas that have high levels. And you see, the national level, it's still listed as high. Yes, it's dropping. I hope it can get to medium before we get to the winter wave. We'll have to see. If it does, I don't think that's something we were able to do last year. So 60 to 79%, still 454 sites like that. 80 to 100%, still 159 sites like that. And let's go over to the Pacific Northwest. And in the Northwest, we see almost all of Washington State is still red and orange. Seattle area, you're still red and orange, but you do have one nearby site that is in the really light shade of blue at this time. That is somewhat better news, but you can see here there are still some wastewater sites that are listed as rising. I honestly don't know why. Could this be lag data? Maybe, but here's one that is now starting to drop. Thank goodness. Oregon, you still have your fair number of red and orange sites as well, which that is a concern. California, we do note now there's a lot more light blue sites. That is some fantastic news. Starting to see a couple light blue sites show up in Utah, but there is also still quite a few red sites, and you can see here red is yeah, it's not good. Those are levels for COVID that are still really high. Here's one site that's dropping. Colorado, some of your sites are not reporting, but your levels overall are still moderate high. And let's take a look and see what's going on in the Phoenix area. Maricopa, here's one site that's rising, but when we take a look at the other ones, we do see levels appear to be dropping. Here's a really small one that's actually trying to rise again. Here's another one that's rising. And there should be a really big site here. So here it is, 2.4 million population. And this site at this time is decreasing. Your COVID levels are dropping. That is some really good news, and we hope it stays that way. Coming over to Texas, still seeing some orange and red. Plenty of orange and red high sites to be found still in Oklahoma. That's not good. In the southeast, things have improved. It's good news, but North Carolina is still coming up moderate to high. I mean, still elevated levels. Ohio, still elevated levels. Starting to see some more light blue sites show up. Let's take a look at what's going on in Chicago area, Cook County, if we can. See, here it is. Cook County, maybe a slight rise there once again, but here's another site there that is once again dropping. And here's another one that shows it's rising. Mixed picture there at the moment. And in the Northeast, also, we are seeing a lot of light blue and dark blue sites now showing up in New York State. That's good news. And there are still some red sites and orange sites throughout the rest of the Northeast. And in the Mid-Atlantic region, pretty much a mixture of everything now, which indicates to me levels are starting to drop. Still a lot of orange sites in Pennsylvania, some light blue sites as well. All right. Let's take a look at the levels at Wastewater Scan, and we can see nationally for COVID, levels are dropping at this time. RSV is starting, it's slowly starting to go upward. You see a wonky movement where it goes straight up at the end. That's likely overdone. Influenza A is dropping. Influenza B is low at this time. HMPV is not an issue yet. Norovirus is now listed as high, and the other viruses aren't much of an issue at the moment. Taking a look at the Midwest region, we do note here COVID continues to drop. RSV is low, influenza A, influenza B, and HMPV is low at this time. Norovirus is listed as medium, and we do see no issues with the other viruses at this time in the Northeast region. Here we see COVID actually is trying to go back up just a little bit again. Maybe some of this is from leaf peeping. RSV is low at this time. Influenza A, starting to see a rise. Influenza B, not much of an issue. HMPV is low. Norovirus is dropping. And not much of an issue with the other viruses. Moving on to the south at this time. We do note COVID is low at this time. RSV was starting to rise. Then there was multiple wonky movements downward. I don't know what's going on with that. I would just assume that maybe it's starting to build up a little bit. Influenza A is low. Influenza B is low. HMPV is flat at this time. Norovirus is listed as high at this time. On the West Coast, taking a look at this, COVID is dropping. RSV is rising slightly, but still very low. Influenza A is low. Influenza B is low. HMPV is low at this time. And norovirus has gone up slightly. All right, let's take a look at a few individual wastewater sites. We'll take a look at what's going on in Atlanta. And we can see here, Atlanta is flat at this time for COVID, low. And everything else is not much of an issue, except for, come down here, there are a few detections of hepatitis at this time. Let's go out to California and see what's going on there. How about we come down here to, how about we go to Sacramento, see what's going on there. COVID levels in Sacramento are low. RSV, influenza A, influenza B, HMPV all low at this time. Norovirus is rising, and it's actually rising by a fair amount, so that's not good to see. Taking a look at hepatitis A, there are a few issues with that, but nothing terribly concerning. Las Vegas, we haven't looked at there in a while. Las Vegas is low for COVID, RSV, influenza A, influenza B, HMPV, and norovirus, all low at this time. Hepatitis A, there are just a few detections of that, and it is actually listed at medium at this time. Let's go up here to Michigan. How about we go to Warren, Michigan? And COVID is still coming in at high, but we do see the levels overall are dropping. RSV is low, influenza A is low, influenza B is low, and we do note here, yeah, just a couple hepatitis detections, no Mpox issues at this time. Let's go over to the Northeast now, and how about we take a look at what is going on in Stamford, Connecticut, and we'll take a look there. And Stamford, Connecticut is medium for COVID. It's not rising at this time, just holding steady. And we do note that RSV is low, influenza A is low, influenza B, HMPV is low, norovirus is medium and rising. And I should note here that they have this chart for COVID really zoomed out. When it was zoomed in closer, we could see when it was rising much better. This being flat for most of the summer, that's just not true. That is much different than what it showed previously. And we'll just do one last wastewater site. Let's do Memphis, Tennessee. Then we will end for today. And Memphis, Tennessee. SARS-CoV-2. It looks like it's low at this time. It's not being calculated. In fact, none of these viruses are being calculated for some reason. Norovirus looks like it's rising slightly at this time. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Sunday edition of the Virus Update. We'll have another Virus Update again tomorrow with probably some new data in from BNO News and whatever news of the day, and hopefully some Walgreens data. I will see you all again tomorrow. But before then, you got to do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up. Let's try for 200 like button hits today. Subscribe if you're new down below. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with anyone you know. And of course, leave all your comments down below. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon. Thanks for watching.